The house creaked like it was trying to speak to me. Just a faint groan in the walls, not from age, but from tension. I built this place with my hands. Every nail, every joint, every carefully measured beam. 11 years ago, when Rachel still smiled without effort and touched my shoulder just because she felt like it. Before every room began to feel like a stranger's idea of home. She's an ER nurse. Always has been. I used to admire it. The long hours, the calm under pressure, the stories she never fully told. There was a kind of nobility to it. But lately, that nobility comes dressed in mascara and perfume. Lingerie tags I've never seen tossed casually in the laundry. Showering before her shift and after. 20 minutes to choose earrings for a night of trauma and blood. I notice it all, but I say nothing. Because confrontation is a losing move when you're playing against someone who's already rewritten the rules. If I challenge her now, I just push her deeper underground. I'd rather let her think I'm blind. Let her get comfortable. That's when the truth walks in uninvited. Rachel and I have 2 kids, Mia, 9, and Tyler, 6. They still think she hung the moon. Maybe she did, once. She canceled our family weekend upstate 2 Fridays ago. Said she was covering for a colleague. Jenna, I think. I can't leave them short-staffed, she told me while tying her ponytail a little too tightly, not meeting my eyes. Mia had already packed her little suitcase. Tyler stood by the door with his dinosaur hoodie, asking if we'd still make pancakes. Rachel didn't even look back when she left. The next day, I found the receipt. Some gastropub downtown. 2 entrees, a bottle of wine, time-stamped 8:47 p.m., the same time Mia was crying herself to sleep asking why Mommy didn't call. The name on the bottom was burned into my brain. Miles. It wasn't the first time I'd heard that name. He's harmless, she'd laughed once, talking about a coworker who brought in donuts for the night shift. Then another time, a text she tried to delete when she thought I wasn't looking. Thanks for last night. Still smiling. No emoji. Just clean, quiet betrayal. I watched. That's all I did. No raised voices, no tracking apps, no desperate searches through her purse. I just started counting things. The number of texts she got after 11 p.m., the nights she came home with blown-out hair and no smell of antiseptic, the way she started locking her phone after never bothering before. She was slipping. And the thing about slipping is, people don't notice when they're on ice. They feel weightless, like nothing can touch them. That's when they leave footprints without realizing. I kept playing the role. Morning coffee, packed lunches, hugs at the door. I even complimented her. Told her she looked amazing on a Thursday when she wore lipstick that matched her new scrubs. She blinked, surprised, like I wasn't supposed to notice anymore. And then she smiled. Small, rehearsed. I cataloged that too. Because this wasn't about rage. This wasn't about broken vows and aching pride. This was about precision, patience. I'm a builder. I understand that you don't swing a sledgehammer until you know exactly where the load-bearing walls are. Otherwise, the whole thing collapses, and nobody learns a damn thing. Miles. That name sits in the back of my throat like a dry pill. I imagine him, tall probably, with that fake humility guys like him perfect, the kind who leans just a little too close when they talk, the kind who offers help with paperwork just to linger. I picture his fingers brushing hers too long when she hands over a chart. I bet she laughs differently around him, less guarded, but I don't hate him. Not really. I hate the way she started dressing up for work like she was going to dinner. I hate the way she flinched when Mia asked if she could visit the hospital. "It's not safe," she said too fast. I hate the way she smiles into her phone, then frowns the second she walks into a room with me in it. I hate that I still remember the sound she made the night Tyler was born. A kind of joy and pain wrapped into one impossible noise. I hate that I thought that sound was mine to keep. The house has started to echo more. Maybe it's the kids getting older. their voices higher, their footsteps lighter. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's me, retreating inward, hollowing out like the frame of a house before the insulation goes in. But I keep working. The routine is a kind of armor. Pick up the groceries, check the gutters, sign the field trip forms, pretend everything is fine. Because while she's playing a game of deception, I'm drafting blueprints, not for saving us. That phase passed weeks ago. This blueprint is for demolition. Slow, surgical. She won't see it coming. And when it starts to fall, she'll wonder how long I knew. She'll look around at the life we built, the one I built, and she'll hear the walls creak too. But by then, it won't be a warning. It'll be goodbye. The betrayal didn't come with lipstick on a collar or a sudden scent of cologne. It came in bubbles. Blue and gray iMessage bubbles, sync loading across her MacBook like a virus I couldn't unsee. It started with something stupid. I was printing tax paperwork. My laptop was dead. Hers was closer. The printer connected automatically. That sync, that perfect damning sync, wasn't something I planned on. But I saw the messages scroll in one after the other, like a silent parade of everything I hadn't wanted to believe. My own wife's secret life downloading in real time, right in front of me. The name hit first. Miles Kent. Dr. Miles Kent. Plastic surgeon. Works 2 floors up from the ER. The same smug jackass Rachel used to joke about. He thinks Botox is a personality trait, she once said, laughing into her wine. That laughter echoed in my skull as I clicked open the first thread. They weren't just sleeping together. That would have been cleaner. He called me tool belt boy. Said I probably couldn't spell hyaluronic acid if my life depended on it. She didn't defend me. She laughed. He builds houses because he doesn't know how to build a life, she wrote once. My wife. The woman I gave everything to. The one I thought I was protecting. I scrolled. Photos. A mirror selfie of her in a hotel bathroom, towel loose, captioned, I told him I had a shift. You've got me for 2 hours. A voice note from him, breathing heavy, saying her name like it was something to worship. And the worst, her reply. He tried to touch me last night. I pretended I was asleep. I just keep thinking of your hands instead. I didn't feel anger. Not right away. Just a numb kind of silence. Like my brain wrapped everything in cotton and said, don't scream. Not yet. There were hotel receipts, Thursday nights, Sunday afternoons, places we used to go together, now reduced to backdrops for their panting, pixelated affair. She told me those days were for overtime, charting, staff meetings. She lied so easily, and I believed her because I wanted to, because the truth would have cost more than I was ready to pay. She got home late that night. Her key turned like nothing was wrong. She walked in humming again, that same damn hum from years ago. I almost laughed, the audacity of it. Like betrayal didn't leave a cent behind. I waited, let her put her bag down, let her kick off her shoes. Then I handed her the MacBook. She looked confused. What's this? It's synced, I said. The messages. I saw them. There was a pause, not fear, just calculation. She blinked once, then shrugged. So you went through my stuff? That was her first response. Not denial, not shame, accusation. You lied, I said, and I heard the break in my own voice. Hated it. God, Rachel, you planned it. You used the kids. You made me feel like I was crazy. She didn't even flinch. I'm not going to apologize for needing something you stopped giving me. She said it like I was a failing appliance, like I'd short-circuited somewhere between the school runs and the grocery lists. You faked being tired, I whispered. You told him I tried to touch you and you faked it. Because I didn't want to hurt your feelings, she said, with the kind of voice people use when they're being patient with a child. I thought you'd figure it out eventually. You weren't exactly present, were you? I looked at her. Really looked. The woman I married had been gone for a while. I just hadn't been willing to hold the funeral. This woman in front of me, so composed, so sure of her entitlement. It was like she'd been rehearsing this confrontation for weeks, like she already knew she'd win. "You don't excite me anymore," she added, quietly, cruelly. The breath left my chest in one clean exhale. I thought there'd be a scene, a storm. But all I felt was stillness. I nodded. That was all I did. I nodded like a man taking measurements. Because I was. I was measuring how far she'd fallen, how far I'd let her fall without consequence. And in that moment, something hardened in me. Not rage, not grief, strategy. "You're paranoid," she said finally. "You've always been a little controlling. Maybe that's part of the problem." And just like that, the knife twisted. She wasn't just justifying it. She was blaming me for it. There are moments that don't break you. They forge something new, something colder, more deliberate. She thought she'd ended the war with that conversation. What she didn't know was that I hadn't even begun to fight. The next morning, I made coffee like always, measured out 2 scoops for her cup, even added the oat milk she likes now. She came downstairs in the gray robe she only wears when she's guilty about something. Soft, oversized, performative. She kissed my cheek like she thought the air between us hadn't curdled. I nodded just once, enough to keep her comfortable. That's the key now. Comfort. I needed her to feel safe while I tightened the noose around her carefully curated little life. I called Jesse that afternoon. He was the best man at our wedding, though Rachel never liked him. Said he made too many jokes at dinner. Jesse works in cybersecurity. Most people think that means he resets passwords for old companies. What it actually means is, if you give him a phone number and a cloud account, he can pull the bones out of a digital graveyard. "You sure about this?" he asked. His voice wasn't judgmental, just measured. I said yes. He didn't ask why. Old friends don't need the details. They can smell blood over the phone. He sent me a private link that night. Password protected. Inside, deleted photos reappeared. Text threads recovered. Even audio, voice notes she must have thought were gone. I watched her, listened to her, like I was studying a stranger. In one clip, she whispered, "He still thinks I'm working? I could be anyone I want to be when I'm with you." She was right. She could be anyone. Just not who she told me she was. I placed a small black camera inside the hallway vent near the garage. Another one across from the bathroom mirror. Motion activated, audio enabled, tucked into corners she'd never clean. I didn't check them every day. That would be too desperate. I waited. Let it collect. Let it build. While she was texting Miles about how I overcooked everything, even my attention, I was scanning hotel transaction records using a shared credit account. She never realized she'd authorized email alerts for purchases over $200. I matched dates to shifts. Shift logs, by the way, are public record if you know how to pull them. Jessie did. She wasn't even trying that hard to hide it. That's what stung the most. It wasn't about being clever. It was about believing I'd never be smart enough, or hurt enough, to look. She underestimated me. She always has. I started keeping a physical folder. I labeled it Refinancing Docs and slid it under a pile of old bills in the home office drawer she never opened. Inside, screenshots, printouts, a list of all the hotels, each matched with a fake shift, the hours she told Mia she was saving lives while she was wrapped in hotel linens texting, "Next time, bring the wine." And then came the legal side. I booked a consultation with a family law attorney. Her office smelled like lemon wipes and restraint. I laid it out methodically. No emotion, just facts. "I want a postnup," I said. "Retroactive, enforceable, airtight. I want the house, majority custody, and 80% of all assets in case of infidelity. California clause, no loopholes." She looked at me for a long moment and said, "You don't look angry." I wasn't. I was focused. It took 2 weeks to draw up. I told Rachel the bank was asking for clarity on joint assets because of the refinance. The interest rates were spiking. It was urgent, time-sensitive. She was halfway through her second glass of wine when I handed her the manila envelope. She didn't even read it, just flipped to the signature page and asked, "Where do I sign?" I pointed. She signed, and I smiled, not because it felt good, but because the chessboard had shifted and she hadn't noticed the pawn she gave up. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling fan, listening to the soft sound of her breathing beside me, wondering how many nights she had faked that too. If Miles had ever watched her sleep, if she'd ever smiled in her sleep for him the way she used to for me. The next morning, I dropped the signed document off with my attorney. She scanned it in, nodded, said, "She won't know what hit her." I said nothing, because this wasn't about revenge anymore. Not really. It was about reclaiming silence, about knowing that I didn't have to scream to be heard, that power isn't loud. Sometimes it looks like packing lunches, showing up to the parent-teacher conference, folding her scrubs while memorizing the scent of betrayal still trapped in the fabric. She still laughed at her phone, still told the kids stories about how busy things were at work. She was still acting, but I was no longer in the audience. I was behind the curtain, watching, and I knew the moment was coming, the one where the lights would come up and the mask she wore would crack in front of everyone she ever tried to impress. Because I had the rope, and all that was left was pulling. The smell of sugar and strawberries fills the room. The cake sits on the counter, tall and ridiculous, pink frosting piped in little rosettes. Like this is a normal birthday in a normal house with a mother who hasn't gutted it from the inside out. Rachel picked the bakery herself, said Mia deserved something special. She wore white, an odd choice for a mother baking all morning, but of course she hadn't baked. She'd been at the salon. Her hair was curled just enough to look effortless, and she wore the earrings I gave her 6 anniversaries ago like they meant something. Everyone saw grace. I saw camouflage. My parents were already seated when hers arrived. Her mother carried wine. Her father said something about traffic and grilled ribs. Rachel kissed him on the cheek and laughed like she hadn't hollowed out the very foundation we stood on. Mia was glowing. 9 years old and still soft, untouched by the rot pulsing under the paint. Tyler chased her around the dining table and Rachel told them to stop like any other suburban mom trying to keep dinner civilized. It almost worked. If you squinted hard enough, you could believe it. I didn't squint. The slideshow was already cued. Apple TV synced to my phone. One press, one quiet confirmation click. That was all it would take. 3 minutes, no more. Rachel poured wine, her smile stretched wide, a perfect hostess. Her mother complimented the rug. My father nodded through it all, watching me like he always does, reading the shifts in my shoulders, the stillness in my face. He knew something was off. He just didn't know what. I waited until the kids finished singing. "I want to show something," I said, picking up the remote. My voice didn't waver, calm, respectful, like a man showing vacation pictures. Just a little birthday slideshow, some memories. Rachel looked up and smiled. Her wine glass tipped slightly in her hand. "You made a slideshow?" "Something like that." The first second was black. Then, the hotel room. Miles, shirtless. Rachel, laughing. The timestamp floated in the corner like a watermark of ruin. They kissed. Her voice followed, soft and high like the way she used to sound in our bed. "He still thinks I'm on call. Poor tool belt boy. He doesn't even ask anymore." Rachel's breath caught first. Then the room shifted. The couch creaked under her father's weight. Her mother's wine glass froze midway to her mouth. My own mother made a sound. Not a word, just breath escaping. I didn't look at Rachel. I looked at the screen. Miles lifted her onto the bed. She giggled, naked. She whispered something I'd memorized months ago. "He's half a man raising full children. The screen went black. The silence that followed was not peaceful. It was surgical. Glass shattered. Rachel had dropped her wine. She didn't move to pick it up. "What the hell was that?" her father barked, standing. His face was already red, vein pushing at the temple. "What kind of sick—" My mother covered her mouth. Tyler was frozen in place, one hand still holding a party streamer. Mia blinked. Once, twice. "Why is Mommy on TV?" Rachel turned to me then. No mask, no deflection, just raw panic. "You ruined our daughter's birthday." I didn't blink. "No," I said. "You did that the night you signed the post-nup." That landed like a slap. Her mouth parted slightly, but no words came. I clicked the remote. The TV shut off with a gentle click, like none of it had ever happened. The living room fell into silence, thick and wet like the aftermath of a flood. Rachel's mother looked at her like she'd never seen her before. Her father shook his head once and walked out the front door without speaking. My father didn't move, just watched me, quietly. Rachel stepped toward me, hands shaking. "The kids? What kind of father?" I moved past her, to the cake. I lit the candles, one by one. Mia watched, unsure. I smiled at her, gently. "Make a wish, sweetheart." She looked at Rachel, then back at me. "Can you blow them out with me, Daddy?" I did. Then I took both children upstairs. No good nights, no explanations, no performance. Behind me, I left her there, shaking, stained in wine and shame, in front of the people she'd lied to, seduced, manipulated, with frosting still soft in the air and her betrayal flickering behind her eyes like afterburn from a screen that had shown too much truth. That was the moment, the collapse. And I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The frosting had barely dried on the plates when I filed the divorce. No threats. No drawn-out warnings, just the paperwork, neatly packaged, precisely timed, and backed by every piece of evidence she thought was lost in the cloud. The screen recordings, the hotel receipts, her voice, immortalized in a whisper, "He still thinks I'm on call." It all went in. My attorney didn't flinch, just read through the files like she was flipping a manual on how to dismantle a life. Rachel didn't scream. Not at first. She texted, called, left voicemails, each one a little shakier than the last. By the fourth, her voice cracked. "Please, you don't have to do this. We can fix it. You're upset, I understand. But you're being cruel." Like cruelty hadn't been built into every lie she'd told. I didn't respond. There was nothing to salvage. By the end of that week, the HR inquiry reached her hospital. I didn't file it, but someone did. Maybe a staff member who saw the video, maybe a family friend. The ethics board opened a formal review. Her relationship with Dr. Kent violated multiple professional codes, conflict of interest, undisclosed personal entanglement. She was put on administrative leave. Her badge was deactivated, her shifts reassigned. Dr. Kent distanced himself immediately. He made a public statement through the hospital, cold, carefully worded. Something about deep regret and protecting patient trust. He didn't mention her name, just his license. He cut her off without a second glance. I know because she tried calling him 7 times in a row. I still had access to her synced account. She left a voice message. "I need to talk to you. They're trying to ruin me. You said you had my back." He didn't answer. Her world started shrinking. Friends stopped replying. The ones she gossiped with, brunch girls, PTA wine moms, they'd seen the clip. Everyone had. They just didn't say it out loud. They avoided her eyes in public, changed conversation threads, left her out of carpool loops. She posted a photo of Mia holding a balloon on Instagram with the caption, "Love is what matters most." 2 likes. The post-nup held in court. She didn't fight it. Couldn't. The judge reviewed the file, asked 2 questions, and granted the divorce without a hearing. I kept the house, full physical custody of the kids, 80% of our shared assets. She looked stunned. She had a lawyer. A different one than she wanted. Hers had dropped her after the video went public. She cried in the hallway after the ruling, not the loud kind, the kind that folds you inward. My father walked past her without a glance. She moved into a rental on the east side. Beige walls, linoleum floors, 2 bedrooms, one for her, one meant for the kids. But they didn't ask to visit. I didn't discourage them. I just didn't remind them. Mia adjusted the fastest. She buried herself in school, asked if we could repaint her room. Tyler took longer. He clung to routines, wanted me to read the same book every night. I did. He never mentioned her. I didn't bring her up. That silence stretched longer every week. She tried to rewrite the ending. She sent texts, not just to me, but to friends, neighbors, even Mia's teacher. Passive messages, half-truths, suggestions. I'm worried about his mental health. He's always been a little obsessive. I just hope the kids are safe. I didn't defend myself. I didn't need to. People had seen the footage. People remembered the laughter. The phrase, half a man, had weight now. People flinched when they heard her voice in real life. It was like her face had become too familiar for comfort. She called again 2 weeks after the judgment. I miss them. I waited. I know I messed up. But you're not innocent either. You trapped me in that house. Made me feel like a guest in my own life. I said nothing. Let the silence do what truth rarely could. Make her hear herself. You're going to make them hate me. No, I said. You did that all on your own. I hung up. At school pickup, parents used to nod politely at her. Now they turned away. One even switched lanes in the parking lot. Rachel stood there once, near the fence, sunglasses on, pretending to text. I saw her glance at Mia. Mia didn't wave. The court ordered visitation every other weekend. Rachel canceled twice, said she had work, but I knew she didn't. Her badge was still suspended. She'd taken a job at a small urgent care clinic. Minimum hours, maximum distance. She sent birthday cards, long ones, too long, like she thought if she explained enough, the guilt would sound like love. The kids didn't know what to do with them. I put them in a drawer. By then, the house had changed. Not physically, but it was warmer, lighter. Mia started humming again. Tyler stopped asking if I was mad. Sometimes I catch myself watching the front door after school, expecting her to pull up in her old silver sedan. She never does, and if she did, I wouldn't open it. 8 months pass like wind over stone, quiet but relentless. The house stays mostly silent now, not empty, just still. The kind of still that settles after a storm, when the trees have snapped and the power lines hang low and everyone's too tired to say anything that matters. Sometimes I still set out 4 plates at dinner, not because I miss her, just habit. Ghosts leave fingerprints on routines long after they're gone. The kids laugh more. Tyler whistles under his breath now, off-key, tuneless, but constant. Mia hums when she does her homework. I don't correct either of them. Noise means breath. Breath means life. I let it fill the house again, even if some rooms still smell like memory. Rachel hasn't stepped foot inside since the ruling. She sends messages sometimes, neutral, polite. Hope the kids are well. Then others, more direct. I think we should talk. Or, I've had time to reflect. I know you probably hate me, but I don't read past that point. I stopped giving her my silence to use as a mirror. There are nights when I wonder, brief, unwelcome moments, if I went too far, if I'd pulled the rope too tightly. But then I remember her voice, her laughter in that hotel room, the way she said half a man like she meant it. Not in anger, not in heat, in joy. That's what made it unforgivable. Not the sex, not the deception, the glee. She didn't just betray me. She delighted in it. She turned me into a joke for a man who never built anything in his life. And then she smiled into a screen while our daughter asked where mommy was. I don't regret showing the video. I don't regret the post-nup, the cameras, the silence I used like a scalpel. People call it revenge. They're wrong. Revenge is loud. This was control. Me, reclaiming the last piece of myself that she hadn't yet buried in shame. The therapist we see for the kids says children adapt better than adults give them credit for. I pay for it without flinching. I don't go for myself. There's nothing to untangle. I don't wake up confused. I don't have nightmares. I don't see her in crowds or hear her voice in the dryer's hum. That part's clean. What isn't clean is the cold. The kind that stays in your bones long after the heats come back. Not hatred, just removal. Like you've stepped outside the version of yourself who used to beg for affection, decode silences, explain away absence like it was some kind of adult math problem no one could solve. I stopped needing her to explain. I stopped needing her to see me at all. The neighbors don't ask questions anymore. The curious stares stopped around month 4. There's a quiet understanding now when I walk Tyler to the bus stop. I nod. They nod. That's enough. I don't tell people what happened unless they ask. And even then, I don't tell the story. I just say, things ended. If they push, I say, she made her choice. I made mine. Sometimes that makes them uncomfortable. That's okay. They weren't the ones who slept beside the lie. There's no closure. I didn't want it. Closure is for stories that had an ending worth grieving. Ours ended long before I stopped the clock. Sometimes at night, after the dishwasher hums and the kids are in bed, I sit in the garage. Just sit. No music, no tools, no plans. That was always my space, the place she never entered. The only room she didn't decorate or critique or try to rearrange. And in that space, I remind myself what it felt like to be unseen, unheard, disassembled. Then I remember how it felt to take that version of me and burn it down. No ash, no apology, just absence. When people ask how I stayed calm, I don't tell them about the hours spent memorizing her tells, or the way I watched her smile into her phone while Mia asked her to come play, or the way I practiced my face in the mirror the night before the slideshow just to make sure it didn't twitch. I just say, I stopped being the man she could manipulate and became the man she never saw coming. And that's enough, because the truth isn't loud, it's just permanent. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.